Meghan Landry, who is the Liaison Librarian at St. Francis Xavier University, but who used to be at University of Prince Edward Island. So she's going to be speaking about Pressbooks at UPEI the first year. And then online, so this is Meghan up at our podium. You should be able to see her on the video. And then online we have Kim Mears, who is the Health Sciences and Scholarly Communications Librarian at UPEI, and she's going to then follow up with what's going to happen in the future for Pressbooks at UPEI. So I don't want to eat into any of your time. You still have your full 10 minutes, so you're good. So take it away, both of you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. So as Cynthia mentioned, I'm actually at St. FX University right now, but I was at UPEI. I've had a lot of experience with getting Pressbooks off the ground there, and I want to talk a bit about my experience. While I was there, I did work with Kim Mears, who is the Health Sciences and Scholarly Communications Librarian, who's currently leading the initiative at UPI, and we developed a really close working relationship, so I still like to keep tabs on what they'd be doing and that sort of thing. Am I supposed to be? Nope, it doesn't seem to be.
Oh, a little bit.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so we kind of broke down this case study by year, and I'm going to be primarily talking about the background, providing a little bit of contextual information about how Pressbooks came to be at UPI. So this was actually pre-2018, but primarily I'm going to be talking about the first year of Pressbooks, which was 2018. Yes?
Just quickly, for the folks online, can you move the podium closer to that mic?
That one? Okay.
Yes, I apologize. I knew there was a reason why it was there.
Okay. Is this better? So, and then Kim is going to be talking about the current work that she's doing this year, including engaging with campus partners, working with the student union, hiring an OER student assistant, and we're going to briefly just kind of talk about the future of Pressbooks at UPI and also possibly some regional collaborations. Okay, so a little bit of background information. So this actually started before my time at UPI. So back in 2012, UPI started an open textbooks working group. So the working group began as a way to discuss the rising costs of textbooks at universities. And it was actually chaired by, I guess, and still currently, Donald Moses, who is now the interim university librarian at UPI. And they talked a bit about some possible initiatives and resources that they could develop to address this issue. The working group was comprised of the chair, a few other librarians, and some campus stakeholders. Either they already had an open textbook, or they were interested in adopting one or creating one. So one of the initiatives that came out of this was adopting Pressbooks open source software. So Pressbooks is a publishing software. It can be used, from anything from an author who wants to publish, their poetry to being optimized for something like an open textbook for an educational institution. And Pressbooks also has the option. It has different types of, I guess, subscriptions, you could call it. And UPI actually opted to install it locally on their servers. This gave them a bit more flexibility and control. They had the means and the resources and the staff there to maintain it, so this was something that they looked into. So this was actually, I think it was maybe 2015 or so when they installed Pressbooks, but there was actually not a whole lot of work being done with it at that time. Cynthia, can I get you to, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so kind of fast forward to 2018. At this time, Pressbooks, nobody really knew that that UPI had it. It wasn't really discoverable. And so in 2018, I kind of became more interested in something called Universal Design for Learning. So creating different different formats, textbooks and resources that students can choose to interact with. So whether they prefer reading print, or if they do prefer digital, they have the option of, being able to download a book and using different types of software depending on maybe a learning disability. So the ability to will read it aloud to you. So I really liked that idea, and Pressbooks is really great for that. So that's kind of how I became involved in Pressbooks, and Kim had started a few months earlier at UPI and was a scholarly communications, so it was a natural kind of transition for her. So we decided that a really good launch period would be Open Educational Resources Week, which was in March 2018. But at that point in time, we really had nothing to show for it. And Pressbooks, again, was not discoverable. So nobody knew that we had it. It wasn't, you couldn't find it anywhere on the library's website. So we decided to create and design a landing page for Pressbooks, so if somebody did, Google search in conjunction with UPI, they'd be able to discover it. We also created links on the library's website. So we actually threw this together. It was a crash course in WordPress and a little bit of HTML and CSS, trying to kind of pull this together in time for our presentation. We provided as much kind of information as we could, but at that time we had nothing to really know, no open textbooks that we were currently working on. So we looked to other universities and what they were doing. So we created a presentation and we advertised a little bit for it. We didn't really know what to expect or who was going to come, but we ended up having a grand total of 3 people that showed up. But actually they were really good 3 people to have there. So one already had an open textbook, Philip Smith, in psychology. He had one through another platform, I think it was OpenStax. He was really interested in bringing it at UPI and working with Pressbooks. There was another professor as well who was interested in creating one, who had never done one before. And there was actually a chair of a department who was really interested in looking for a possible alternative to something called University 103, which is like an intro to university course. So we had a really good presentation, and we had a lot of time afterwards to kind of talk with them and think about, brainstorm some initiatives, that sort of thing. And we actually created websites and open textbooks for 2 of the participants there. So during this time, we decided that the Open Textbooks Working Group hadn't met in a few years, and this would be a really good chance for us to meet again. So we were able to meet again and talk about the work that we had been doing and what others were interested in working with. So the last thing that I was involved with before I left UPI was we tried to engage some more campus partners and conferences. So we decided to come to them rather than hosting, an open event. So I reached out to, it was called the UPI Teaching Community Conference. It was a new conference that was being offered, and it was primarily professors or instructors talking about pedagogy, sharing learning experiences, that sort of thing. And I kind of marketed Pressbooks as an opportunity for them to self-publish. So if they were interested in maybe, if they were working on something, then they were possibly looking at maybe adopting an open textbook. So we were able to reach out to some people there. We also had an opportunity, I think this was also before my time, Donald Moses had spent a little bit of time talking to the registrar's office, and we sat down with them and talked about how we could possibly adapt the academic calendar with Pressbooks. This is a very non-traditional use, but basically the traditional workflow of them creating their academic calendar was they had a deadline before they submitted everything, and then once the deadline came, they published it as a PDF and put it on the web. At that point in time, the PDF was up there, obviously no changes could be made to it, and so they wanted a way that they could make easier additions to it and edits and that sort of thing, and they wanted something like a platform that they could go into and that would always be there. So this is where the conversation kind of left off with the registrar's office, and this is kind of the work that I was involved in. So I just kind of provided a little snapshot again of some of the work that we were involved with. So, looking at the academic calendar, on our website we compiled a lot of open textbook resources, looking at what other universities were doing, because we didn't really want to reinvent the wheel, so we were looking to see what others were doing. I have a little tiny screenshot of the UPI catalog. So that was one thing that at the time we imported records for BC Open textbooks, so that they were easily discoverable in the catalog. And this is, again, my presentation, or our presentation, Kim and I's, at the UPI Teaching Community Conference. and Pressbooks at the Robinson Library is the landing page or the website for Pressbooks. So after a few of these initiatives that we had started, we definitely started to gain a lot more interest in Pressbooks. More people were signing up for it, but nothing was still really being done. So the website was created, the URL, that sort of thing, and then work was kind of stalling there. So Kim, I think, is going to talk next about what happened after that point and some of the initiatives that she's been working on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Kim, take it
Hey,
away.
can everybody hear me?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You might be on mute, Kim.
Others
I unmuted myself.
Oh, so why aren't we able to hear her here? Okay, so what's going on? Let me just try. Two seconds.
Testing.
Oh, yeah, it might have been when we switched the camera off. Microphone, speaker. Well, it should be.
How about now? Is that better? Nope, still don't think they can hear me.
Apologies, folks. I think when we, I'm just gonna go out and come back in again. Okay, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. There we go.
All right. Okay. So as you heard Emma speak earlier, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our collaboration with the Student Union and Emma. So I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, and please feel free to speak up if you have anything to add, Emma. So presently, we're working on a collaboration with our Student Union. Emma's been very interested in open educational resources, and they actually funded a student research position for one semester that has the two main goals of updating a list of open textbooks used on campus, but then also assisting a UPEI faculty member with creating an open textbook using our Pressbooks platform. So as Megan mentioned, we didn't have a lot of uptake with our Pressbooks platform because faculty already have a lot to do, and so adding on authoring a textbook is intimidating. And so I think one of the challenges that we wanted to help faculty address was the time and effort it takes to create a quality textbook. So we've actually had a really big increase of interest from our business faculty, and so one of our business faculty members, Matthew Polly, I've put the cover of his textbook that he's been working on, but he's gone ahead and started using it in his class, but there's a lot of formatting issues with that textbook that we're going to help him fix. And with the recent upgrade to Pressbooks, there's some new features to help with like the glossary, and also with the references for each chapter, because he did use this textbook he created. It was adapting from another textbook that was out there on micro and small businesses, but then adding additional chapters that really focus on maritime small businesses and micro businesses. So that's really one of the bigger projects we have going on with Pressbooks right now. And did it change the slide when I hit that? I'm not sure if it's for everybody or just for me.
It's for you now. It's for just say next slide and I'll change it for you.
Okay. So I'm on the slide that says present with non-traditional uses. So hopefully everybody can see that.
Yep.
So Megan mentioned before that we had the registrar's office contact us, or since I wasn't involved with the early steps, I'm not sure who reached out to who first, but I wanted to really kind of highlight some of the non-traditional uses we have. kind of explored for Pressbooks. You know, it is typically for open textbooks, but we've also looked at potentially using the moving the university's academic calendar onto our Pressbooks platform. So that's currently in the works. We are continuing on with that. There's still lots of work to be done. There's also revamping the calendar, maybe taking out some information. So this is a screenshot of some of the headings from our Pressbooks platform on the academic calendar, but it is still just in a draft point at this point. So more work to be done on that. But also there's the UPI Lab Safety Manual. So Donald, who's also, you know, listening, found this online and thought, hey, this could be a good opportunity to, we see this thing that's produced every year and it's updated every year. This could be a good thing to put on Pressbooks. So we're currently importing all of that information into Pressbooks, and I'm going to approach them and say, hey, look, this is something that we could make available for you online so you're not producing a PDF. So we've kind of also been on the outlook for university resources that could use the Pressbooks platform, and then reaching out to them so that it's not just used for open textbooks. Okay, so next slide. Talking about the future of Pressbooks at UPEI, we definitely want to continue to engage faculty with our Pressbooks platform. We know that faculty are, you know, have a lot to do, but I know in the past Donald Moses has talked about potentially starting a program for faculty grants to help them have the time and money to create an open textbook. That's something that, you know, we're very aware of, that, you know, there's not enough time to do everything, and so maybe a grant could potentially help them. That's something that's, you know, still in conversation, and we would definitely like to see some kind of collaboration with the university to support that, but just in the discussion section right now. So also there has been lots of conversations about a regional collaboration, maybe creating like an Atlantic version or Atlantic instance on Pressbooks. So that's definitely something, again, still in the discussion stages, but I think a lot of our smaller universities would love to see that happen. Like there would be a lot of planning and discussion that needs to happen for that to come to fruition, but I definitely think it's something that would be very helpful. And I think I don't want to go over time, so that was really all of the information I wanted to go over today.
Any questions for Kim or Megan? Yes.
I'd just like to go back to the slide on the future and look at that faculty grants. How much, can you just flesh that out a little bit more for me? Like, what does that look like in terms of costing? Is that for a course release, or what's the amount? Is it some talk about that?
Donald, if you would like to speak up at any time, you're welcome to. But I do believe, yes, it would be the equivalent of release for one course. I don't remember the exact money or the numbers, but it was something that we could definitely share some more information about that, but I think Donald would know most of that. He's the one that drafted that content. Let me see if I could find it. I'm not sure if he's still on the line or not.
He's on the line, but you're muted, Donald, if you're trying to speak.
That's okay, I can go offline.
Oh, there, he's unmuted now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Megan, if you could get her. If you could get her. Oh, I think I see Donald now.
I think we looked at the release cost, and that would be about $6,000, maybe a little bit more. I don't know if that's realistic or what the expectation is. I think for us, we're probably thinking more of seed grants to get something going.
Thank you. Any other?
And may talk about it as well.
Yeah, because Anne's going to speak a little bit later. We all have time for questions at the end of the session as well. So if anybody has questions, they can come back and ask at the end of the session, because we want to make sure we get through everybody today. Thank you very much, Megan and Kim. This has been fantastic. And all of their slides will go up on the website as well later.